Dear Diary, I have been feeling a bit sad and unsure lately, spending a bit too much time in my own mind, and it's in these moments that it can be kind of hard but completely essential to remind myself to return to tangible things, to fully immerse myself in the textures of my real physical life, to notice myself as the role of a creator, and see that I am always capable of adding new additions. I have been working on my next tarot card, which is the Magician. It is very much in a trust the process phase right now. Almost all of my paintings go through this phase where I'm very unsure about everything. It doesn't really feel like it's going to come together, but it usually does if I stick with it. I'll show you what I'm talking about in a minute. I think I'm going to take a little break to make some food, and also I want some coffee. I've really been craving this coconut latte that I got at a coffee shop recently. It had this like toasted coconut cold foam, and I just found a recipe to make a toasted coconut syrup. So I'm gonna try to make it, hopefully it turns out well. But painting and coffee are just the perfect combination for me. Also, I have these very angry pimples right now, and I put these cute little like sparkly star pimple patches on them. How cute is that? I really wish that was the thing when I was a young teenager. I feel like 13 to 16, my acne was at its absolute worst. It was just so inflamed and angry, and people in my life were pretty rude to me about it. Like my dad would call me pizza face, and my mom was always pointing it out, and even other girls my age would kind of like make fun of it. I just think it's cute to have the option to put little stars on your face when you're breaking out and like make it a cute little accessory rather than this big insecurity, you know? This recipe seems very simple. We're just going to toast 1 cup of coconut flakes. Mine are sweetened, but you can do either. And then we're going to toast it over medium heat until it starts getting nice and golden. And then we are going to add a 1/2 cup of sweetener and a cup of water and let it simmer for like 15 minutes. So super simple. I'm definitely going to watch the coconut very closely though, because it can burn so fast. Just so that everything is nice and evenly cooked and doesn't burn. It smells so good! I'm so excited. And it's 222. I see this number so often. I'm going to make a latte with my homemade toasted coconut syrup, starting with 2 teaspoons of instant espresso, and 2 teaspoons of the homemade syrup, 2 to 3 ounces of water, and then we'll mix that up. Not too much because we don't want it to get too frothy, but just enough to combine. And then lots of ice. Followed by about 6 ounces of milk. I'm using coconut. Now for our cold foam, we're going to do a tablespoon of our syrup and 2 tablespoons of heavy whipping cream. And we froth it for about a minute or 2. I saved some of this toasted coconut for a topping. Look how beautiful that looks. Okay, I want to sip it with the cold foam first. Mmm. I love coconut coffee, it's such a good combination.
A sickness hotter than a fever, higher than the moon, swallowed by a dreamer who sped me out too soon. I bury you with the bad news, I burn the holy ground. No sacred new beginnings, no madness this time round. Let me down the back streets at cold.
Here is where I'm at with the painting. I have been working on her face and I love painting dark skin tones, but I've found this very challenging with watercolor. I'm still learning how to paint with this medium and I've just had issues like trying to layer the skin and trying to bring the highlights back out and then it kind of lifting the paint underneath it and kind of creating a weird texture. So I've had to paint and repaint the face multiple times. So it's been a challenge. One of the issues as well is that my brush is too big for just how small her face is and I've had a hard time trying to define her features. So I went to the craft store the other day to pick up a much tinier brush, which I think that's gonna make quite a difference. So I want to define her features more. I also want to paint her hair a proper black color because I have been mixing the black myself with ultramarine and burnt umber, but with gouache paint, I just feel like I can't get it dark enough. I don't know if it's this brand or just the medium in general, but I am going to put some proper black on my palette. I think that will help create more contrast in the face and then defining the features, and I want to add a little bit more highlights to her face as well. So that's what I'm going to be working on.
I thought you had a puppy, dear.
Well, I went there one day. Spain. Look at this lady.
By voting online at iHeartPodcastAwards.com. Now through
We top off the loaded 70s Sunday morning. Temperature meteorologist Juliana Mejia. This report is sponsored by the...
Hello, voiceover Serenity here. I wanted to talk a bit about the Magician, which is card 1 in the Major Arcana, and the second card that I'm creating for my tarot deck. These pants are so flowy. So the Magician is sort of this conduit between the divine and earthly realms. It's very much as above, so below. It is a card all about manifestation, creativity, inspired action, resourcefulness, and I wanted to take inspiration from the Magician as a performer because the Magician is ruled by Mercury, which is a planet all about communication and matters of the mind, and represented by Mercury is Gemini and Virgo, and so I see the Magician as a sort of Gemini influence that's very playful and whimsical in her demonstration of knowledge while still having a very deep understanding of what it is she is sharing, and with that I take some inspiration from Virgo and representing that by also being a witch. And in my tarot, the suits which are represented by the elements, fire, earth, air, and water, are represented by mythical beings, so mermaids, witches, Valkyrie, and fairies, which is how the suits of the minor arcana will be split up, and I want to carry that through the major arcana. I'm painting my Magician tarot card. Here's how she's looking. I put on this cute outfit just for the occasion, drinking a copious amount of coconut lattes. And it's really just simple moments like this that make me feel like I made it. Meeting the Magician card is essentially when we come face to face with the reality that we have power. We have the power of manifestation, of creation. We have these tools and gifts that we can use to influence our lives. And in Pamela Coleman Smith's deck, which was sort of the original tarot deck, the Magician is displayed with a table that has all of the emblems from the suits: wands, pentacles, swords, and cups, which, as I mentioned before, I will be representing with mythical beings. And so rather than tools on a table, I wanted it to be almost this performance that the Magician is putting on, pulling the bunny from her hat, and with it all of these tarot cards representing the elements and the lessons that we can learn from them. So I would love to know what you think of my take on the Magician card and what cards you are looking forward to seeing next. And don't forget to subscribe or you might miss them.